That slap, well, I'll always remember that
Oh
slap.
my God.
I came home late and I went against her rules because I was rebelling and I got one slap. But
Your brain like resets. It does like an auto reset, literally, instantly. I'm super excited to be here with Arys Dejean. So, Arys, host, podcast producer, recording artist, you're doing amazing things. Tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Thank you for having me, EJ. Thanks for that intro. A bit more about me. I'm just a person who loves to create and who expresses himself through creativity and thinks that I can find the art in anything. So I think everything is connected to art. Even this conversation already between you and I, it's a form of art. It's in fact a lost art because not a lot of people know how to communicate in the verbal sense in the right way as of late. Everyone's so digital, you know, and texting.
Yeah, the
phones, everything, right? And thank you. But it's technology, so we have to be grateful because without it, we couldn't do this right now, right? In this moment. So it's a double-edged sword. But for me as a person, I love life. I'm happy to be here. I express myself through creativity. I see the love and art in everything. And even though I've been through so many things throughout my life, I'm still pushing, still striving, and still hoping to inspire others with my story and my journey. My mistakes and successes, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. I like that you didn't introduce yourself with all your accomplishments, because I find that a lot of people, when you ask, tell me about who you are, they start to list out, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, and nothing wrong with that. It's just I enjoy when people introduce themselves in the way that you have, and that is beautiful art right there. So I want to do something that you usually do. So tell me one word that you will use to describe yourself.
The first word that came to my mind, and I find that when you ask people this, they might go with some positive adjectives and all of this stuff, and I'm gonna say afraid. Right now, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what's to come. I'm afraid of what you ever been afraid of, like your own powers or your own abilities? Afraid of success, afraid of glory, afraid of maybe hurting someone, like the abilities that you have, you're afraid of them because you don't know how to use them yet, you know? I'm feeling a bit afraid right now. So that's how I would describe who I am right now.
Yeah, that's deep. And yeah, I think a lot of us can relate, because when you feel like something major is about to happen to you, you wonder if you're still going to be your original self before all these extra things happen, right? I feel you totally do. So Arys, we're talking about overcoming trauma through music, but I want to first off do a shout out to your team, who is amazing. Like, every podcaster's dream, guys, is to have a team like Arys's team. His team emailed me. They, made sure that I was replying on time. They had it on schedule. They gave me his bio. They gave me pictures. I'm telling you, they were replying me in minutes. And I was like the person replying like a day or two late.
Yeah.
Because I'm a one-person team, Arys, like most podcasters, right?
Yes.
I do it all. But I want to do a shout out to Carlos, who was connecting with me on email, and say thank you so much. And also to all those behind the scene that help you out, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, because you do the Who and How podcast, you do the Quiet Council, you're a recording artist, like this, a bunch of other things that you do. So can you just dabble into that a little bit, and how that vision happened and how music touched on all these things that you do?
Thank you, EJ. And yes, shout out to the team and shout out to Carlos especially. You know, I always felt like having representation. There are these things. I don't like to keep secrets to myself because I want to inspire people and I want to share with people how I do things so that they could get inspired and maybe use what I do and tweak it to their own liking and base it off of whatever they're creating in their own environment or structure of their lives, right? Or their creative journey. A lot of times you'll ask someone, hey, how did you do this? And they give you like this very vague response. They're not very specific. It's like, I'm going to keep this secret to myself. You figure it out. And I don't believe in that, So for me, I understand that representation can propel you and add value to the representation of just you as a solo entity. You as EJ, you're EJ, you have this podcast, you have your life, you have these things that you're doing. And let's just say you're reaching out to brands or people you want to partner with or whatever. They could go directly through you, and you are enough. Don't get that wrong. But if these entities see that you're represented by something or someone or some sort of collective or an agency, whatever, the value of you kind of can go up a bit, because it's like, oh, this individual is represented by someone. There's a layer there, and before they get to you, they got to deal with these people first. So the value of you kind of goes up. And I would encourage people to seek out representation or create your own entity within your thing that you're creating, and reach out to the people and to the companies or the brands that you want to partner up with, whether you're a podcaster or a recording artist and you want to reach out to record labels, get higher management, create something, get representation on a level, on a foundational level. And the Quiet Council, which is a creative agency and just a management group, is something that Carlos and I kind of put together, where we're going to be representing other brands and other podcasters. And he deals with all of my bookings, whether it's getting me onto shows or getting artists or other creators onto my show, and reaching out to just brands that we have a lot in the works coming up. And if it wasn't for Carlos and us putting our heads together on how we want this thing to look, it wouldn't be possible. You and I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that you are half Black and that you don't know who your dad is, and but you have a community, around you regardless. So I wanted you to just share with me a little bit how music helped you deal with some of the trauma that you faced when you were younger, and maybe how music continues to help you to thrive.
Thank you for your question. I really like it.
Thank you. Good, I feel like the question is great now. Okay.
No, you're good. I like this. Music has always been like the soundtrack to my life. And I remember like being a child and watching Usher videos and mimicking his choreography and knowing it by heart and dancing in front of the TV screen. And dance and music just has always been a part of my life, like when I had babysitters or my aunt, who's very young, you could say we could be siblings, she's a young aunt. She's older than me, but she's young. And she used to carry me around with her in her teenage years. And she exposed me to music and cassette tapes and how to tape over something, like the old
school. I remember those days.
Oh, yeah, I miss those
days. You rewind the tape and
or you hear a song on the radio and you had your tape ready so that you created your own mixtapes. She exposed me to that. And if you fast forward to this day, I'm really obsessed with the old school iPod. Not the touch one, but the old school one that allows you to shuffle the music and just kind of still put music onto the device as opposed to just downloading it on an app on the device, because it keeps me connected to that old school feeling. And anytime I push shuffle, it's like the music is telling my day, somehow, some way the music knows how I'm feeling today and what kind of day I'm having. Whether DMX comes on and it's like, all right, go to war right now, or something like
Ja Rule and Ashanti. Yeah, I know what you mean. I got you. Okay.
That's the cloth that I'm cut from. So music just has always it's been there for me when I felt like I didn't have anybody else, you know?
Yeah. So how can people use music to overcome trauma? I want you to just think about it just in the way that it helped you. Maybe 2 steps, 3 steps, whatever you think are some ways that people who are maybe struggling right now and listening to us right now or watching this video right now, how can they use music to elevate them past their sorrows and past their pain?
Before I started creating music of my own, I channeled the people or the artists, the creators that I looked up to, like the DMXs, the Ja Rules, the Jay-Z's, the Pusha T's, the Kanye Wests, and really listening to, and the Tupacs and stuff like that, listening to how they told their story. And when you listen to those artists like Fat Joe and all of them, like they're telling a story, they're telling their lives through music, but they're not just sharing their pain. You can hear them transitioning out of their pain through that music that they're creating. It's a release. It's not just a story that they're telling or a piece of themselves and they're still in that dark zone. They're healing through the music and through the stories that they're sharing with us, which is their life story. So I understood that growing up, and I felt like if I were to create any kind of music, I would want to share my story as well and do the exact same thing that they did, share their journeys. So I think when creating musically, you really have to tap into your life, the history of your life. You don't know what your future is, and you could create music that is very prophetic and you're going to tell your future and I'm going to have this materialistic things.
Yeah.
But you could really get in depth when you reflect on your own life and the things that you've gone through and pinpoint certain things in your life that will help you create the best story musically. And you'll heal through all of that because you're letting it out. It's like a form of therapy, just on paper. It goes through your brain, it travels through your heart, and then from your heart it stops there and then goes through your arm to your fingertips, your hand, your fingertips, through the pen or pencil onto the paper. It literally is a release. So
Wow.
you can heal through that, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful, right? From your head to your heart and then out through your fingers, writing something
Fingertips.
creative. I want you to think about some of the music that you've written and, you've produced and released. I was listening to a few of them. And
Jesus.
because you've used the word, I have to be ready, so because you've used the word story,
Yeah.
it comes to mind, your track that is called Story comes to mind. Tell me a little bit about what you were feeling when you were writing that song and when you were, producing that song.
Yeah, that's from the Maverick EP, which
Yeah.
I chose that title. Just I felt like it was fitting at the time when, with the headspace and the heart space that I was in, and assessing who I was in that moment. I felt like I was a maverick with the podcast just launching, and a lot of moves that I was making at the time, and the relationship that I was in, and my way of thinking and doing things. I was like, I'm a maverick, like I'm gonna own that title, and I wanted to be really transparent on that project. And it was really just to test the waters. And Story, I felt like I had to get personal. The beat was really speaking to me. And I realized that I shared some things that maybe my mom wouldn't approve of, or anyone from my family would approve of. And I didn't even scratch the surface. I just shared little tidbits. But it's like, I want to be so honest with my audience.
Yeah.
But can you be that honest? Can you be so 100%? What do you keep for yourself, EJ?
Yeah, I
If
don't
you're
know.
sharing, you're giving your all, like you got to keep some stuff to yourself too. Because
Absolutely.
what makes you, if you're like, I don't know if there's such thing as 100% honesty or 100%
Yeah,
transparency, but you do your best.
you do your best. I agree too. When you give it all, like when you completely open book, how do you feel? Like if your life is just out there and you can't hold anything back, you can't count on this little information that is not right out in the internet. Like, how does one feel is what I wonder. And I know that our audience wants that transparency. They want to connect that way, but we looking in have to put ourselves in Arys's shoes and the shoes of any artist. Like, when we keep asking and wanting more and more and more of that transparency, what damage does that do to that other person who has to always give and has to always open up to this, world that doesn't necessarily give anything back in return? So thank you for because that's how I see it. Like, think about all those big artists out there. Your life is out there. We're quick to criticize them. Oh my God, Jay-Z did that, or Beyonce did that. Like, do we ever stop to wonder how it feels for them to always pour out and we don't pour back into them necessarily in the way that is not financial? I know that they get money for that, don't get me wrong, but I wonder about the mental space and the head space that you just talked about as well.
You can also lose yourself. Like, what do you have left? What do you have left for yourself at the end of the day if all you do is give? So you have to find really a healthy balance, and the goal is always to inspire, but you don't want to lose yourself in the process or lose an amount that you usually keep for yourself at the end of the day. Like, think about, EJ, when you go to bed at night and you reflect on your day and you think about how much you gave yourself to others. It's like, what do I have for EJ left now right before I go to bed? Like, I want some for me too. All that good stuff you give to others. I want some too. And you might not get it from others, so you might have to be the one to give it to yourself. You need enough energy to do that.
So the question I want to ask Arys next might sound a little cheesy, but I like to ask it especially to my male guests, because I don't have a lot of male guests on my podcast. It's usually focused on my sisters. That was the ground that I launched, but I want to have more guys on my podcast, so I'm intentionally working my way towards that. So this question I reserve for my male guests, and is what you do for self-care, because I know that women get this question all the time, but I feel like our brothers don't get it. So I want to ask you what you then do for self-care. What do you do to protect your space, your mental space, your physical space, your mindset? What are some of the things that you do that people can also learn?
Can I acknowledge something quickly?
Sure, why not?
I really appreciate you acknowledging the fact that, men probably don't get asked questions like these, first of all, especially with this month being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I've been speaking a lot about people who keep reposting things and promoting things on their social media, and a lot of it is women, and they're the ones posting things about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but I don't see men themselves promoting these things. And some of the women, I doubt they've even had a conversation with a man about his mental health or mental health. So
it's like, what's that?
Yeah.
And it's unfair, but we got to change that. We got to work towards changing that.
So thank you so much. Like, you don't understand, and not to sound cheesy either, like,
no.
It's all in connection with how I've been feeling lately. So the fact that a woman of your stature just came with this question, it shows that we're making a difference and we're there, so thank you for that. The way I deal with my you said mental well-being, I'm sorry?
Yeah, absolutely. Overall mental well-being, mental health, anything.
Yeah. For me, it doesn't cost anything, so other people can try this at home. It's disconnecting.
Yeah, unplug.
Unplug, yes. Yeah. Putting the phone away, leaving it on the charger. When it's your day off, it's your day off. Do not connect with work. I get in my zone with writing. I'll get on my laptops and start creating. I'll listen to beats. I'll just spend some time with myself. And I think that is really the healthiest way to manage your mental health or your mental well-being, because it doesn't cost anything and it's not external. You're not trying to fill a void. You're just really taking some time to yourself to recharge and reset. And there's nothing more healthier than that. And you don't need anything external of yourself to do that, I believe, my beliefs. So that's what I do to recharge and to get myself straight. Yeah.
For me, it's music, just listening to, of course, unplugging.
Yeah, letting yourself feel. You got to allow yourself to feel. Mm-hmm. So even if that music is igniting some sort of emotions inside of you, whether it's sadness from the past or anger, at least you're doing it with yourself. You're not in your phone. You're not like, you're just natural elements, you know, and music is it's gonna be the soundtrack to your life on how you feel in that moment, and you have to allow yourself to feel and go through those emotions.
So I want to take you back to your childhood a little bit, just for you to reflect on some of the things that happened. And I know it's not a very comfortable question, and I promise not to make it uncomfortable, because I do want our guests.
Liar.
He's like, no, you're just coming in slow.
Yeah, coming in. We're going everywhere today.
Like, I'm going in, going, no. I really do want it to resonate with people, and I don't want it to traumatize anyone or even re-traumatize you. But the question, I think, is important, because I want you to reflect on your childhood and then tell us what are some of the things that you wished happened to you and that would have helped you cope with some of the things that you went through.
It would have been nice to have like a stable home, you know, just somewhere where it's like I could call home. Because I feel like my sister and my sisters didn't have that per se. I think we have it now, later in our lives, you know, now that we're grown and we're independent and we've done things for ourselves. But growing up, there was a lot of moving around, a lot of things being left behind, a lot of moving around, being left with people that aren't family. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of moving around. Yeah. And, you know, I will never speak ill of my mother or anything. I'm just speaking from my experience, and this is what I saw as a child. So I think if I had a more stable home, I think my life would have been a bit different. And same with the father thing, you know, knowing my father. And, you know, I'm only 32. There's a lot of life to still live. So
absolutely,
who knows what the future holds, right? So, but I'm saying in this time, that the stage of life that I'm in and growing up, I don't know who that individual is. So my life would have definitely been different if I did.
Yeah. And so take a minute here then to drop some words of advice for parents then who might be listening to this podcast one day. What are some tips based on what you've just shared that you can give them to better help maybe the unstable situation that they may be having right now with your little ones? I know you're not a parent.
Right.
I know that. I just want you to reflect on the fact that you were a child, right? And now as an adult, you do have some words for parents, right? Like, I think we all do, whether we're parents or not. I think we can still have good advice for parents. We don't need to be a parent in order to give an advice. I'm one of those people that think that anyway. I respect that other people might disagree, but this is my opinion and this is my show. So can you share what
straight up tell them?
Gotta say. So please tell me what you think.
I was telling you earlier about, you know, being afraid, you know, and I think one of my fears, the reason why I don't have children at this moment, is because I don't want to bring any people into this world without being, I'm going to use the word stable or set up in my own personal life, you know, dealing with my things that I've dealt with and ensuring that I'm healthy and in the right frame of mind before I bring someone else in, because I know when someone else comes into this life and I choose to bring them in, it's going to be about them now. It will no longer be about me, and I have to be ready for that. So there is a fear attached to that, because I've also haven't met the right woman to do that with, you know what I mean? And a lot of people that I went to high school with and stuff, they're on baby number 2 and 3. And it's like, I don't see children in my near future.
It's not a race, man. Like, I don't think it's even about that. Like, it's just,
it feels like it is sometimes, right? Like society will make you feel
society will definitely, you know, slap you across the face with that kind of information and keep rubbing it in. But we are society at the end of the day, you and I. So the rest of us that don't think like the other part of society, we have a right to do different, right? In order to do better.
So I would hope that, if for folks who don't have children yet, to think about these things before bringing someone into this life. If you've already brought someone into this life and you're caring for them, I would suggest just try not to hide anything from them. I don't think hiding anything from your child sees it all anyway. Little do you know, little do you know,
Yeah.
I was very quiet as a child. I've never gotten licks or anything because I didn't
Wow, really?
I didn't do anything.
Not even one?
Maybe my mom, she hit me once in my
You're a really good kid. Once you have to think about it. I don't have to think about my situation. It's like there. And I'm in my 30s too. So no, I got a lot of licks.
That slap. Well, I'll always remember that slap.
Oh my God.
I came home late and I went against her rules because I was rebelling and I got one slap.
But your brain like resets. It does like an auto reset, literally, instantly.
But prior to that or after that, I never got hit. So I was observing. as a child. And what my mom probably thought I didn't know, I knew, but I didn't speak. I just watched. I was looking at things, and things were really affecting me really early on, because I could sense when things were, I could sense when we're about to move again. Wow. I could sense when something is off. So hiding things from your child, I would suggest don't even bother. Still keep that boundary. You're the parent and they're the child. But if what is happening is affecting your child, you got to explain things to them so that they have a better understanding, so that they could work through it as well and not be left in the dark and just, so yeah.
I think sometimes parents struggle with when should they be telling your kids what's going on, right? Because kids are really young. You want to protect your innocence and all of that. Yes. Do you have an idea, just based on what you've just shared now, like what age do you think you would have been able to handle the truth if your mom told you everything that was going on?
13.
Okay.
13 was right before I made the transition into foster care and spending my teens in the system, being in children's aid. And once getting a taste of that freedom, I didn't want to go back home. I was finally independent and I was a bit sheltered. My mom really kept us close in those moments that she did have us. Though we were moving around a lot, we were sheltered. And once foster care came into play, yeah, you could have told me anything and I would have been able to handle it, like I was speaking, I recorded an episode of my podcast today, and on the show, I was speaking about how when I was younger, I was more like a stone, I was stone. I was like, I had to grow up faster than the age that I actually was. So like when I was 16, I would make jokes back then. Like everyone around me, they're like, yo, you're like an old man, because I was forced to grow up quicker than my peers. So I was already in my 30s at 16. So I was very hard and I was able to take things more, take in things more. But that didn't help, because if you fast forward to 32 now, I'm in therapy now. And those things that I didn't deal with back then, they have resurfaced as of late, and I'm learning how to manage my emotions again, trying to learn that stone piece and also that balance of being vulnerable and meshing the two together, because you need to be stone at sometimes. You need to be a bit heartless. You need to have an ice box, and then also you need to be open and vulnerable and transparent, and you need to cry. You need to talk about things. So I'm learning these things again. So
yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, Arys. So some of the things that you're doing, some of the strategies that you're incorporating in your life to help you through with healing. And you've already talked about therapy. And I know that within my community, the word therapy is not a word that people even consider, because they think, it's the other people's problem, right? You just need to go to church and you just need to, I don't know, like they just come up with stuff.
I literally said that. I'm just shocked because I said those exact words.
Really?
I was speaking about our community and our culture.
Yeah, our community,
Hot.
we don't, like, you know, we don't take, I don't know why we don't take therapy seriously in our community,
Don't
but
tell your business to strangers.
yeah, exactly.
You're
Don't talk about
outsiders.
it.
You don't need
It's
anybody.
nobody's business. It's your business. Like, you don't, it's an outsider. So can we talk about that and help educate our Black men and women how therapy is important and how we need to talk to people, how we need to talk about situations, and some of the other strategies that we can use to help us through with healing?
There's a saying in my head that someone who I considered and still do to this day, even though we don't speak as often, I consider him to be a big brother. He always told me that starting is the hardest part. And once you start, Arys, you can't stop, you know, and I've proved to do that in life. You know, I just don't stop. When people speak of me or where I'm in circles and we do these little exercises, Arys doesn't stop. One thing about Arys, he will never stop. He might pause, he might take a little break from something to restructure, but he comes back 10 times harder with his ideas and his things that he's always wanted to pursue. But I understand how difficult starting can be. So when speaking to others, women or men, you know, push yourself to start or try. Look at it as a try. You're trying to do something, an attempt to do something different than what you've always done. Don't knock it until you try it. You know, throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. If it doesn't, you go back to the drawing board and restructure. Because therapy isn't for everyone. And I'm not going to be the one to say, yo, therapy is the answer, but it's a beautiful tool to use. It's a tool, just like money is a tool. Communication is a tool. These are tools that we are allowed to use to our advantage to excel and to speak with someone outside of your inner circle, someone who may not know you on an in-depth level and can see you from the outside looking in because you're not able to do that for yourself. I think you could benefit from that. And I'm only speaking from experience because I shut down therapy many times throughout my life. It presented itself numerous times. And I shut it down because I was afraid. I wasn't ready. I didn't think I needed it. I was very stubborn. And that culture thing, you know, like thankfully my mother and my grandmother, who are Caribbean, and they didn't feed that in my ear. They didn't say, oh, you wouldn't need something like that, or they didn't shun it. But I'm aware that our culture as a whole has that, there are those stigmas around it, you know, and again, go to church, pray about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't go to church. I go to church.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we need to take a holistic approach to these things. When it comes to trauma, when it comes to healing from a situation, it's not one size fits all. Like you said, it's your experience. So, you know, it's your individual experience. You just have to explore and see what works. And yes, maybe in the beginning, trauma therapy rather is not something you want to utilize, and then maybe down the road one becomes open to it, right? So,
yeah,
absolutely,
I started therapy this year, April 26th, on my birthday.
Wow!
On my birthday, it was like a gift to myself, I guess, you know. So.
And how has it been going? Like, do you feel like it was worth it? Do you feel like it's a good idea to do therapy?
I think so. I think I've definitely changed. I feel that I've changed a lot because of it. It has helped me put things into perspective. It has opened my mind to certain things that I never thought of before. And I share my journey to therapy on my Instagram to hopefully inspire others. You know, it's not, again, like, I'm not gung-ho over therapy. I'm not saying, hey, this is your answer, but it could be. So why don't you try it like I have and look at how it's helped me evolve and deal with the things that I never thought I would get an opportunity to deal with in life. Like, imagine going through something, EJ, and you ask yourself, how am I going to overcome this? Or how am I going to ever speak about this? Or how am I ever going to address this thing, this feeling that I've had, or my demons or my skeletons that I've had in my closet? I've been able to do that through therapy. So of course I would promote it and hopefully inspire others to try it out for themselves. Yeah.
For anyone listening today, what would be one or two key takeaway or one or two advice for them?
I think being able to see your thoughts on paper is a release. So I would suggest, when creating musically, you can be honest with yourself, because there's someone out there that will be able to relate to your story. I guarantee it. And that's what the Who and How Club podcast represents. It's about sharing stories. We could be strangers, and I guarantee you and I could relate to one another in some way, shape, or form. The only thing stopping that is that we haven't spoken with each other. We haven't shared our stories with each other yet, So I think being just honest with yourself and telling your story and dealing with your past by putting it out on paper, seeing it, being able to read it out, putting it over a beat, and music could not just only be lyrics on paper, it could be dancing. I feel like dancing is a form of therapy and meditation to the higher up. Put some music on and dance and record it and then release it. Inspire some people through your dance, your movement. Music is a way of really guiding us and being the soundtrack to our lives. People have already created those things for us, so you can now create things for other people to come after you. Then they'll go listen to your stuff. So yeah.
So what's next for Arys Dejan? So what are your next projects for the Who and How podcast, the club, or any other endeavor that you're working on? Maybe your music as well.
Thank you for asking. We're announcing the episode that I recorded today. We announced a new sponsor, which is BetterHelp. And BetterHelp is an online therapy service. So it's really in line with everything, my evolution and things that I'm promoting. And only God is constructing this stuff, like you think.
It's amazing, because you have Manscaped too that you partnered with, right?
Yes, we had partnered before. The sponsorship has come and gone. So now the new, it's weird to see that transition. Like you have a sponsor that kind of deals with this type of thing, but now it's evolving into how the show is evolving. The show has really evolved into this mental health, mental well-being themed kind of platform, and a sponsor like BetterHelp only makes sense.
It's amazing. Congratulations, Arys. Yes, I'm familiar with BetterHelp, so this is awesome.
So for those who are interested in trying, I don't want to give a shameless plug, but by the time this episode comes out, they use promo code WHOHOW. They could get 10% off their first month of BetterHelp and its therapy services. I think it's a great way for people to just try it out. That trying that I told you, trying before you knock it down, test it out, see if it's for you. And if it's not, then leave it alone and go do something else. Go try something else. Musically, I have a new single coming out within the next week. And we have a project launching in the new year as well called Three Flags. And it's a collaboration between an Australian singer, a producer from the Netherlands, and myself being from Canada. So we make three different flags.
Yeah, I see that now.
Three different people, three different, 3 tracks. It's like a little EP, but we're going to release these singles first in the coming weeks to promote that. And just collaborating with individuals like yourself to have these really in-depth conversations. And I pray that I can bring you onto my platform.
Of course.
We can dive into the life of EJ. Yeah. And get to know you on an in-depth level,
Yeah, absolutely. It will be my pleasure. So please drop where people can find you, your plug. So if people want to go contact you right now, where can they find you?
Everyone could touch base with me on social media at only one Arys, ONLY, the number one, ARYS. That's on all social media platforms. My website's arysdejan.com for music and bio related things. Of course, the podcast, the Who and How Club podcast, you can find it on all streaming platforms. WhoHowClub.com is the website, and at Who How Club is all the social media platforms. And just connect with me, and I'm willing to speak with anyone.
It will all be linked in the video, the podcast. So please connect with Arys. He's a fantastic, amazing man. And I hope that this conversation has blessed somebody as much as it has blessed me. And I hope it was a blessing for you too, Arys. I hope you found this meaningful.
I needed this today. I needed this. After recording my episode and now speaking with you, and you see it's connected. Everything.
Yeah, there was connection. Yeah. We've never met.
Synergy. Yeah. I'm really grateful. I needed this today. So thank you. And I can't wait to return the favor and have you come join the Who and How.
We don't return favors here.
Oh, I'm gonna ask some questions. I'm gonna ask some questions.
You just want to put me on the hot seat. Just say that. Don't tell me you want to return the favor. I see what you're doing there. You know me too well already. Yeah. This has been amazing talking to you, Arys. Thank you so much for stopping by on my show. Super, super grateful. I'm sure we'll have more opportunities to collaborate again. So looking forward to having you back here on another topic. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, EJ. And thank you to your listeners and viewers as well. Thank you.